here's another beginner intermediate workout. This time we have the option, you can go with or without using your long resistance band. So these ones are quite handy, they have the loops already in. The only place I've found I can get these at the moment is Decathlon, but any just long piece of resistance band doesn't have to have the loops in, can work for today's workout. Or alternatively, you can just do all the moves without the band. So hopefully, if you've come to this workout, you've done a warm-up, either from my channel or somewhere else. But I'm just going to run through a few quick movements of the body just to get that body moving and warming very briefly. So obviously if you've already done your warm-up, just skip past this part and go straight to the first exercise. So just drop that chin forward and up just a couple of times, just to get that head moving, that neck warming up. Lovely, let's do one more there. Side to side. So just taking a moment as we just warm through the body to start feeling that centre. Those magnets of that lower belly drawing in. Maybe that pelvic floor drawing up, trying to just pick that blueberry up between those bum cheeks. That spring between your lower rib and your front hip bone. Just shrug those shoulders up and down. Lovely, so now we've just moved and warmed up that neck. Just think about that length in the back of the neck, that soft peach between your chin and your chest. Helium balloon string pulling the crown of your head upwards. Lovely, start to circle. Really open up those shoulders, move those shoulder blades around. Remembering that if you've already warmed up, just pop straight ahead to the first exercise. Lovely. A few in the other direction. Start thinking about breathing, making sure you're not holding that breath. We're looking for that lovely deep lateral breath. Good, relax those shoulders. Just start to bend to the sides. Good. Starting to think about those collarbones as we come back to centre. We're smiling wide. Lovely, just opening up that little grin of those collarbones. Good work. Just start to bend through the knees a little bit. Good. Just little bends. Make sure you keep those heels grounded into the mat. Just a few bends just to warm up through the knees, through the thighs, through the ankles. Good. Couple more there. Good. And just walk those feet through. Little click there. Always quite normal in the feet, the toes, the ankles. Good, just warming through those feet and toes, those lower legs. Getting a bit of warmth into those calf areas. Good work. Keep those collarbones smiling. Keep that lovely head neck position. Good. And lastly, go wide, dropping down. Those hands onto those hips, just a couple of pliés just to open up those hips a little bit. Good work, moving a little bit faster than we might normally, just to run through this quick bit of movement, get the body moving. Good work. Let's go for one more. Good, come centre, take the arms out wide and just come into a twist. So keep those arms long as you twist. From the waist upwards. Try and keep the hips facing forward. Just a few little twists and opens from side to side. Lovely. That head following the movement if it feels good. One more each side. Good. Okay, come to the end of your mat. Let's just roll down to get ourselves down to the mat for our first exercise. So just drop that chin, around those shoulders, start to curl through the centre, through the rib cage, start to curl down towards the mat, bending through the lower back now, draw that belly in just to give you that length and that stretch through the lower back. Hold for a moment here, let the head go heavy, let the hands go heavy, and then just dropping down. We're going to start our workout today on our tummies in that prone position. So option to take your band. You're going to take that band over the back of your back and you're going to hold it into your sides. Okay, we're coming into our breaststroke prep work, starting with our level 1. So just quick setup in your prone. Make sure your head and neck is nicely aligned. Shoulders relaxing into the mat. Lower belly drawing away from the mat, tailbone tilting down. So as we breathe out, we're going to lift and get a little bit of tension on that band and then lower down. So as you breathe out, you're going to lift those hands, shoulders, and just create a little bit of tension into that band and release back down. As you breathe out, you peel those shoulders, lift and create some tension, just a gentle pull outwards on that band, and then lower back down. Lovely. Watch that head and neck position. Keep that soft peach held between your chin and your chest. Keep that tailbone just tilting slightly down towards your feet, and that lower belly engaged. Breathing. Taking whatever range of movement is available to you. If that's here, then that's fine. And back down. If you're like me and have quite a big range of movement in your shoulders, you might want to come all the way up and back down. Lovely, good work. Wherever you are, just working gently into that band. We don't want to force and cause strain with that band. It's just there, just to enhance and give a little bit of resistance. Sometimes even just stabilizing us so we can focus and target on those muscles a little bit more. Let's do one more. Lovely. Take a pause for a moment. And then we're going to move on to our level 2. So this time the head and the chest peels from the mat as well. So we're going to breathe out. And in. Lovely. So you start with those shoulders peeling away as normal. Those hands reach, stretch that band. You keep that soft peach held between your chin and your chest. That piece of string pulling from the crown of your head, giving you that lovely length in the back of the neck. Don't be tempted to tip the chin at the end of the movement towards the ceiling. Keep that chin in line. Keep the top of the back of the shoulders working. Lovely. Keep that center engaged. Lower belly stays engaged. Drawing up that pelvic floor. Keeping that tailbone tilting down. Keeping that spring connected between your lower rib and your front hip bone. So you'll notice we're not lifting too high here. We're trying to get the top of the back to work. Let's do 2 more. Last one. And release. Good work. Just pop that band to the side for a moment. Take a little pause. So we're going to go with those arms overhead now into our swim 2. So this time we're going to hold that band overhead, okay, in that swim 2 position. So come back to your center, reset, head on the pillow. We're moving one arm at a time. As we breathe out, we just stretch it forward with that arm and hover from the floor. So breathe out and down. And then switch sides, alternating arms. And then if this is causing any pain or strain around the shoulders, around the neck, you can just work on reaching the arm forward one at a time. So just pushing that band upwards. If it feels okay, then you're reaching, shining lights from the end of your fingers, and then hovering that hand as high as it's happy to go. Trying to make sure you're feeling that movement coming from the shoulder blade and the shoulder. That shoulder blade just glides slightly up the back of the rib cage before you hover the hand, and then release back down and relax. Breathe. Let's just do a few more here. Working in your own range of movement
at your own pace, taking a pause anytime you need to. Obviously, if you're not using the band, you're just working through that same movement. So we're really trying to work the shoulders here. One more. And release.
Lovely, good work. Just relax those arms down for a moment. So we're going to turn around onto our backs and we're going to work a little bit more into the muscles in our tummy. So spin yourself over. We're going to come firstly into our hundreds level 2. So this time we're going to take that leg and float it up into that single tabletop position for our hundreds level 2. So just make sure you've got your head, neck and shoulders in a good position, shoulder blades melting into the mat. So the leg that's lifted, you're going to take your band, pop it over the top of that leg. We're going to start to pulse that band down towards the mat. So little pulses of those hands holding the ends of that band. Lovely. As you start to work through those pulses, start to think about that breathing pattern. 5 breaths in and 5 breaths out. Lovely. Then start to think about your centre. Are you nice and neutral through your pelvis? Is your pelvic floor engaged? Remembering that blueberry drawing up between your bum cheeks. Is your lower belly engaged? Remembering that belt, those magnets drawing together. And is that spring between your lower rib and your front hip bone gently tensioned? Lovely. Keep that going while you continue to breathe. In for 5 and out for 5. Nice and soft in the front of the neck. That head and neck position, unmoving, doesn't change. Collarbones smiling wide, shoulder blades melting into the mat. Let's do one more round here before we change legs. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Pop that leg down. And then we're going to float the other leg up. Pop that band over the top and start to pulse. Lovely. Starting to try and get that breathing pattern of 5 in and 5 out. Always thinking about that centre, keeping that nice and set, working on that lovely static strength of those tummy muscles, engaging deeply through into those deep back muscles as you keep that lovely neutral position. Lovely. Breathing there. 5 in and 5 out. Keep that head and neck in that nice neutral position. Shoulders open and relaxed. Let's go for one more round. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lovely. So you have the option now to continue with those single tabletops, taking 2 sets of each breath before you switch. Okay? So 2 rounds of the breathing before you switch. Or if you want to come into your level 3, we're going to float both legs up into that double tabletop. So one leg set and then the other. So you're taking that band back around the top of the knees. So you're either single or double now, and we're continuing that pulse. So just work through those 2 rounds of breath if you're continuing in that single tabletop. If you're in your double now, you're starting to think about working a little bit harder to keep that centre nice and neutral and set. Shoulder blades melt into the mat. You're pulsing still with that breathing pattern of 5 in and 5 out. Back of the neck nice and long. Breathing. Good. Just tapping that ground. You might not even touch the ground, but as if you're just tapping and releasing each time with that band. So if you're starting to get a little bit tight in the hips, this tabletop is feeling like it's in the front of your hips, front of the thighs. Just draw those knees in a little bit closer. That's always that way you can just work into this double tabletop and just get used to that position if you're a little bit sensitive in those hips. Lovely. Wherever we are, we're going to go for one more round of breath. Keep that centre engaged, keep that spring engaged between your lower rib and your front hip bone. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lovely. Pop that band to the side, hands down, and float yourself out of that tabletop. Good work. So we're going to do some abdo prep now. Now we're going to take the band, holding the ends again. This time we're going to pop it around the back of our heads. So it's going to give a little bit of assistance into this abdo prep, helping us to really work and focus a little bit harder into that tummy. So keep those knees, feet nice and straight, nice and steady. So we're coming up into our straight abdo prep to begin with. What we're going to do for today is take a breath out, gaze over those knees, breathe in as you hold, and take a breath out to lower. So try and go with that breathing pattern for today, or just make sure you keep that breath flowing in and out nice and steadily. Lovely. So taking that weight from the head with that band, no tension in the arms, just gently taking that weight. You can really focus on what's happening here through your rib cage and through your tummy. So this is all about the rib cage, this movement. Drawing that rib cage down towards that front hip bone. Headlights stay nice and steady. Lower belly engaged. Lovely. Gaze over those knees. Front of the neck nice and soft. Collarbones remain open even though you're pulling up and round into those arms. So we're really working that strength through our tummies now. Good work. Keep those knees nice and steady. Make the tummy stabilize you and do all the work. Good. So you'll notice I'm not pulling, I'm not really wrenching on these arms. They're just there, taking the weight of the head, guiding me into the movement. And release. Take a pause for a moment. So we're going to do our oblique prep now. We're going to keep the band where it is, giving a little bit of assistance with that head. Normally we would have one hand down. This time we keep both hands up. Now draw that crisscross across your belly. Now we're taking one side of that diagonal line, drawing down towards the opposite hip bone. Gaze over the opposite knee and release back down. Let's try and take the same breath pattern. Breathe out. Into hold. And out to lower. Really good. Remembering that diagonal line. One lower rib drawing to the opposite front hip bone. Keep those headlights facing to the ceiling. Don't let the opposite knee wobble around. Keep those knees steady and strong. Keep that weight bearing nice and even through your feet. Not too much pressure on these hands as you lift. Just taking the weight of that head. Let the rib cage do the work. Let your tummy muscles do the work. Breathe, 2 more. And again. Gaze over that opposite knee. And release. Just take a little breather. Little pause for the arms there as we're going to come into the opposite side now. So make sure that head is resting there. Steady, nice and even, weight bearing through your feet, nice and even through the knees, not wobbling in, not falling out. Keep those nice and steady. Set your center, set that spring. Set your lower belly, set your pelvic floor. Let's go. Good. You're gazing over that opposite knee just to keep that front of the neck nice and soft. You're peeling that rib cage, that opposite rib cage in a diagonal line across towards the opposite hip bone, working the sides of the belly. Let's do a few more here. Lovely, nice and open through those collarbones. Even though we're lifted with the hands, we keep those collarbones nice and open. 2 more. Last one. Good, and relax back down. Good. Take a stretch out of those legs, arms overhead. Just have a little stretch there for a moment. Just release that belly. Okay, so now we're going to come into some bridging. So we're going to come into our normal bridging. So just a little bit of distance between your feet and your knees. Just slide that pillow out from under your head for a moment. Lovely, just so we can get a nice range of movement through those shoulders and that neck. So we're thinking about those headlights. We're thinking about drawing those sit bones together, engaging through those buttocks.
keeping nice and steady through the knees and the feet, and in keeping engaged through the front of our body as well as the back. So hold that band into the ground. That's going to be your resistance here. Start to engage through those buttocks, draw those sit bones together and push those headlights towards the ceiling. So you just take your own range of movement here. You don't have to be lifting as high as I am. Just lift as high as your body is happy to go. And then start peeling back down through your chest, through your rib cage, through your back, and lastly your tailbone. So remembering to start this movement with that little curl of your tailbone off the ground. Start to lift, working the back of the body, the buttocks, but keeping the front of the body engaged. Keep that lower belly drawing in, that lower spring drawing down towards your front hip bone. Lovely, and start to roll back down again. Nice and open through the collarbones, nice and soft in the front of the neck. Breathing out. Let's breathe in to hold and out to lower. Breastbone, rib cage, lower back, and lastly that tailbone. Lovely, let's do a couple more here. Those headlights nice and steady and even. Lower belly drawing in. Don't let that lower belly and that rib cage push towards the ceiling when you get to the top. Keep that front of the body engaged and release. Lovely. Keep drawing those sit bones together, keeping those buttocks working. Last one. In to hold and release. Really good. Okay, just pop that pillow back under your head. So we're going to come into some double leg stretch now. We're going to work through a little variation on our level 1. So you're going to take hold of that band, hold the band overhead. So this time, normally with our double leg stretch, we'd go for those D shapes, those circles round overhead. So all we're going to do is just hold that band, and we're just going to get a bit of gentle tension on the band as we pull it overhead. So the band's moving in that, you're stretching it out a little bit. Okay, so our level 1 variation, it's a bit like our one leg stretch legs. So as that band goes overhead, we're going to come into that position there with our legs, and we're going to alternate each time. So coming through that single tabletop, pushing on that 45-degree angle as those arms reach overhead. So there's quite a lot here. We're working on that dynamic stabilization, that dynamic stretch, because we're now moving the arms and legs as well as trying to keep that center nice and set. So that's what it's all about. So keep that lower belly engaged, pelvic floor engaged, rib engaged down to that lower hip, especially as you move those arms overhead. That's when that lower rib might want to flare up a little bit and rise up. That's when that lower back, middle of the back might want to lift from the mat. So keep that neutral. Breathe out as that legs and arms move away from you. And in as it all comes back in. Lovely, working hard. Releasing that tension each time as that band comes up, and you work on wherever you're happy on that band. Good. Breathe. Let's go for 2 more. Keep that center engaged, back of the neck nice and long. And release. Take a pause for a moment. Just drop that band down for a second. So you're either going to continue there with that level 1 variation, okay? Or you can come into your level 3, which is back to that double tabletop position. So float yourself one leg, then the other leg. Lovely, good work. So take that band back up. So continue if you want to, just on that one leg at a time, coming through that single tabletop. So this time we hold static in that double tabletop, and we're just releasing those arms overhead and back. So obviously we're working in our double tabletop now, keeping that center set. But we're adding a little bit of movement in now with those arms, which is making us having to work a little bit harder to keep that centre set, but don't work hard through the neck and the shoulders. Still keep the front of the neck nice and relaxed, collarbones open, shoulder blades melting into the mat. Gentle tension on that band as you move it overhead. Obviously my shoulders move quite a lot, so you might just be moving to here, and that is absolutely fine. Don't worry about what range of movement you have. Work on the quality of the movement and the control. Just a few more here. Keep that centre nice and set. Remember, if you need to, you can draw those knees a little bit closer in towards you. Last two. And one. Lovely. Pop those hands down. Float those legs down. Good work. Just hug those knees for a moment. Just a little release before we move on. So I'm just going to sit up for a moment. So for this next part of the workout, you just need to tie a little loop in one end of your band. Obviously this is where mine comes in handy because it's got those loops already there. So if you have just one long piece of band, just take one end of your band and just tie a little loop into it, tie a knot so you've got a loop that can go around your foot or your ankle, okay? And you're going to be holding the other end of the band. So you might want to just pause for a moment, just take your time just to make that loop. Make sure that knot is nice and tight so that doesn't ping open when you're trying to do the exercise. When you've done that, coming back down to the mat, we're going to come to some one leg circle work, okay? So we're going to take one leg, we're going to try for our level 2. So that's coming with the leg straight up towards the ceiling. Obviously for lots of us we've got a bit of restriction, a bit of tightness here. So if you need to, you can just have a bend in that knee, okay? As long as you've got a pencil off the end of that toe, drawing those circles. So wherever you are, take a little bit of tension on the band, that's your resistance. Don't move your hand around with the band. Keep the hand as steady as you can as you start to circle that leg. Now remembering those circles are all about keeping that centre set. So we're not letting our trunk and our pelvis rotate with those circles, especially that opposite hip. That opposite headlight might want to wriggle around a little bit. So set that centre, keep it nice and steady. Now think about what you're doing with this leg. So we're drawing some circles on the ceiling. Nice and steady, nice and even. Supporting leg nice and steady, keeping that centre nice and set. Relax through the neck and the shoulders. Remembering if you need to, you'll have a slight bend in that knee, especially if you're getting any clicking in that hip, okay? And also if you're getting any clicking, just reduce and do really tiny circles. There's lots of little deep hip muscles and there could be, you know, lots of weakness around the hip. So it's a really good exercise for building that up, but some of us will struggle with it initially. Lovely. If you've got that range, then your leg is nice and straight, drawing circles on the ceiling. Let's switch direction of those circles now. Keep that spring engaged. Keep that lower belly engaged, pelvic floor engaged. Breathing. So just keep that steady breath cycle. Half the circle, in and out. Lovely. Let's do a few more circles on this leg. So you'll notice I've got this tension on the band. You choose how tense you want that band. You're actually helping with that stability of the circle with the band, but obviously working into that resistance, so feeling that working a lot harder, a lot quicker. Let's go for 3 more. 2, collarbones open for 1. Lovely, good work. Now we're going to keep this leg moving, and we're going to move straight into our one leg stretch. So come into that single tabletop now. Now this time we're working into the resistance of that band on that one leg stretch. So nice and long in the back of the neck, soft in the front of the neck, collarbones smiling, shoulder blades melting into the mat. So we're moving dynamically still with those legs, working on that control of that centre. No lifting of your back from the mat as that leg moves away. Keep that nice neutral spine and breathe. And in. Keeping that resistance set on that band. So choose where you want that resistance and then keep that hand nice and still. So if you release and bring it back in, you're actually just helping that leg. So try and keep that resistance set. Now option for the last few, if you want to take this other leg into your tabletop, you can work from that double tabletop position, or just keep working from this leg down into the mat. Lovely, wherever you are. Nice and long in the back of the neck, soft in the front of the neck. Collarbone smiling, shoulder blades melting into the mat. Center engaged, tension on your spring between your rib and your lower hip bone. Breathe, that toe, nice light gliding, reaching for that switch, turning it on, releasing back in, reaching, turning it off, reaching back in. Let's go for 2 more here. Last one. Good work. So take one leg down and then the other leg. Good. So we're going to switch legs now. So pop that loop. If you need to just retighten it again, then do. Pop that loop around the other leg. So we're starting with those circles, okay? So coming into that one leg circle. So your leg is either straight or you'll have a slight bend. Remember, just watch for any clicking or discomfort around this hip and adjust as you need to. So wherever you are, take whatever tension. You can be right up here with the band. You can give it a little bit more slack. And just working round into those circles. Relax through the top of the body. So as we're concentrating on those circles, working hard to set our centre, keeping that support leg nice and steady, you might notice that a bit of tension creeps in through the neck and the shoulders. Keep those positions. Keep those neutrals. Lovely. Keep that spring engaged. Remember the headlights that are going to want to wobble around and follow that leg. So our trunk and our pelvis are not following the movement of those circles. We're keeping those set and steady. Try and draw nice steady circles on the ceiling, keeping this leg nice and steady. Keep that lower belly engaged. Keep those magnets drawing towards each other. Keeping this hand nice and set and still, not following those circles. Lovely. Keep that breath flowing. Let's switch direction of those circles. So whatever way you were going, just start to circle the other direction. Lovely, nice and strong through your centre. Lower rib engaged, centre switched on, back of the neck nice and long. Keep that pencil drawing those circles on the ceiling. For 4, 3, last one. Lovely. Release that leg into a bend as we come for our one leg stretch. So we're pushing that switch. Turn it on. Release back to that single tabletop. Reach, turn it off, and come back to that single tabletop. Breathing. Keeping that tension set on the band. Lovely. So the rib cage, the pelvis, the spine doesn't move, stays nice and set. Lovely. You might lose that connection in your lower belly. Just readjust it each time. Have that nice flat line between your belly button and the front of your pelvis. Lovely. Take a pause if you're coming into that double tabletop. Bring that other leg to meet now, or just continuing that single tabletop with this support leg down on the mat. Lovely. Wherever you are, soft in the front of the neck. Open those collarbones, melt those shoulder blades into the mat. Lovely. Keep that centre set. Keep that pelvis nice and neutral. Breathe. Last 2. Keep that tension on the band. And 1. Good. Just release those hands and release those legs. So you can pop that band off. That's your optional band, but another beginner intermediate workout complete. Well done. I suggest now that you take a stretch, a bit of a cool down, about 10 minutes. You can find a couple of these on my channel, or obviously a lot of information on the internet for cooling down or stretching.